So, Tom, what got me interested in engineering was in high school, I took a drafting class where we had to go home and measure actually our home.
That's Tom Battles. He's the engineering practice leader here at HRP. We'll hear more about what that title means in just a second.
The door frames, the windows, the size of the structure itself. And in class, we actually drew our homes to a scale, both in plan view and elevation view. So that's what got me interested in engineering and or architecture. Engineering, it does a lot of drawing to scale, and that's why, it kind of got my interest, and that's why I pursued engineering journey, I guess I'll call it. Well, I actually received an award for my drawing, since it was really actually that good, which I was kind of surprised at.
So what happened after that point, kind of from high school through there? What was your next step on that journey? That's me, Tom Simmons, host of this podcast.
From graduating high school, I decided to go into civil engineering because it's more of a hands-on construction, building, designing profession versus some of the other disciplines like mechanical, electrical, are a little more abstract, I guess you'd call it. Yeah,
the work gives you something really concrete too.
Yeah, you can actually touch and feel this.
It's Engineering Week, so Tom and I are talking about his journey as an engineer and what brought him to HRP, and a little bit about the engineering practice.
Back in the day, Mianus River Bridge collapsed, Hartford Civic Center roof collapsed. This is when I was in school and just out of school, so my interest was really in more of the structural arena, and I took more structural civil engineering courses. So my first big task out of school was working with Connecticut DOT's Emergency Bridge Program, where we had 60 bridges under contract, and we were out inspecting these things on man lifts and bucket trucks, and from there we eventually created design repairs or design replacements of these structures. So it was very interesting to be a young kid out of college doing really hands-on engineering work.
What was that work like when you were out there?
It was fun. You're a young kid, you're outside, you're getting paid for the first time in your life, learning a lot, was on a lot of different bridge structures, from highway structures to bridges over streams to trusses, so all types of structures I was introduced to.
So you had a lot of engineering experience before you came to HRP?
Yes, quite a bit of experience. Like I said, I started out in the bridge structural arena, migrated into the civil site development arena, which is more of developing sites, whether they're commercial sites or residential subdivision sites. So it's the grading, it's the road design, it's the stormwater system designs, things like that. From there, I actually went on to a utility company, telephone communications company, where we were a statewide construction underground conduit infrastructure group. So we would build conduit systems in cities like Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, and also ran conduit in towns like Thomaston and Goshen, wherever underground systems needed to be placed. And most of it was for fiber optic services, so it was good protection to have fiber in the ground instead of up on a pole line.
And what brought you to HRP?
Previous firm I worked for was a civil environmental firm similar to HRP. I was asked by one of the owners of HRP at the time to come over and interview for a kind of a lead position, which would be a promotion on my end. So I came over with with the idea that if it doesn't work out, that's fine. No pressure. Let's see if we can work something out, and if we can't, that's fine. So, decided to take the position here as kind of the chief civil engineer at the time.
Yeah, and what is your position now?
Right now, I'm the engineering practice leader for all of HRP. So, my goal is to basically provide the tools for the engineering groups to perform their work. Those are SOPs, which are standing operating procedures. Some of the software that's needed for our work, like AutoCAD, some hydraulic models, cost estimating tools, budget estimating tools, specifications, contracts, and most importantly, QA, QC on the work that I have expertise in.
Mm-hmm. So within the engineering practice, what are some of the areas or services where HRP operates?
Well, we operate in a bunch of different areas of expertise. Myself, I'm more traditional civil engineering with a structural flair to it. Environmental engineering is a big component of our company, so we've got experts like Glenn, who's working in our New York office right now. He's kind of the go-to environmental professional. Laurel Picard is our wastewater professional, so we get into the wastewater industrial permitting arena. And then we have Allison Tropoulos, who does our air permitting work for mostly New York. I think under the engineering practices, my role is to support all the offices. So regional managers often call and ask about particular projects. Is this something we can do? Do we have the capabilities? If we don't have the capabilities, how can we get this done? A lot of times it's hiring a subconsultant or a local expert. So we try to figure out as a team how to potentially secure a project. And if it's something that we can't do, we can't. But we usually try our best to pull together a team that can provide client service.
So who's on that team? Well, for Engineering Week 2022, we're going to chat with a few of the folks Tom mentioned. Let's hear from them right now. Allison, welcome back to the 312 podcast. It's been a while since you were last on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
And it's always a pleasure to have you back here. So we have you here for Engineering Week. And can you give us, just for maybe the folks out there who aren't familiar with you, your full name and title?
My name is Allison Tropoulos. I'm a project manager here at HRP.
And what was kind of your journey to becoming an engineer?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in the environment ever since I was a young kid. In the 7th grade, I was the president of the environmental club. And so then I was interested in science, and my dad's an engineer, so he suggested I pursue chemical engineering. I did end up in environmental in the end, but same thing. Ended up in the same place anyway.
So when you were growing up, what were some of the things that kind of interested you in engineering as opposed to some of the other sciences?
I've always considered myself a practical person, so I like the aspect of getting something done, achieving something, building something, whereas, some of the more theoretical sciences, you don't have that end result of a product.
What brought you to HRP?
A long journey. So I started at the state of Connecticut. Well, actually, I did do a small stint at a different consulting firm. And then I ended up at the state of Connecticut for 13 years. And then I just really was looking for a change, wanted some opportunities. So I applied at HRP, and then the rest was history.
And working at HRP, what are your specialties? What's the kind of area that you are focusing on for your work here?
So I manage the compliance engineering group at HRP, and so I manage both the New York and Connecticut office compliance engineering, and we handle a lot of different things. We handle air, wastewater, stormwater, tanks, PSM, RMP. So, we encompass it all, but my personal specialty, where I'm the strongest, is air compliance, permitting, reporting, record keeping, basically anything in the air arena.
Mm-hmm. And who falls under that in terms of like clientele or prospective clients?
So we have a lot of manufacturing clients. So anyone, with a boiler or a generator or a process where you're making stuff involving chemicals, often you end up with an air permit. We have some institutional clients, hospitals, prisons, but for the most part, I'd say manufacturing.
So what does the day-to-day look like for the air work?
So a lot of the air work is math. You have to do calculations. You have to understand where pollutants will end up in the environment. So if you had a process, sometimes we use modeling to predict where the pollutants will impact to the ground and affect people, in the surrounding area. So, we do some modeling, we do calculations, we do air permit applications, we might do stack testing for clients. So if you have a permit, you're required to measure the amount of pollutants that come out of your process or stack and demonstrate that they're below your permit limits. So we help facilitate clients with that. We might go to a site, assess processes, give recommendations for where improvements could happen, where you could potentially reduce your pollutants so that you can increase your production and still remain under your permit limit. We try and work with clients to get the results that they want to achieve and give them ideas and help them out.
How much of the data that you use is gathered by the staff at HRP and how much is from other sources?
Typically, the data that we use would be like fuel and material records. So that's typically provided by the client from their purchase records. So their purchasing department.
When you do site visits, what does that typically consist of?
So we'll visit a client, talk with them, understand what they want, what they're trying to achieve. Then we'll typically go on a tour of their facility, understand the process thoroughly. Usually we'll gather some data, like I said, those fuel material records, and then bring that back to HRP, do calculations, understand the regulatory implications of what they're trying to achieve, and provide some recommendations to the client, usually through a phone call or a Teams meeting nowadays, where, we discuss, this is, you have some options. This is what we're thinking. Which one do you want to go with? We usually try to provide some options. Once the client decides what they want to do, then we'll come back, prepare the permit application or, whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
Now, how often is this something where clients come to us because they know they need our services, and how much of it is us having to let the client know that these are services that need to be conducted for them?
Often clients have an inkling that what they're doing might affect their air permit or, needing an air permit. Other times HRP might be out for a different reason, and they might see, another HRP staff member might see something and say, this looks weird, and come back and ask me, like, do you think this needs an air permit? And then, we can contact the client together and say, when so-and-so was out there, they saw this, what's going on with that? And I talk to the staff around here that does the plant visits, and I say, look for these things. If you see these things, let me know, because the best way to help a client is to catch it before they get in trouble for it.
Absolutely. And what are some of those things that you tell the staff to look for?
So if they see anything poking out of the roof, that's the number one sign that there's something going out into the air. If you see a roof penetration, ask them what it is and what it's leading to, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. When you talk about understanding the procedure that goes on in the facility, is that just the procedure related to air, or is that kind of encompassing their whole processes? Usually
their whole process. Their, the production start to finish, really understanding what they're trying to achieve, what they produce, what they're trying to produce, and then where they want to end up, Are they trying to expand? Are they trying to increase production? Are they trying to put in a new emission unit? Understanding where they're at and where they're going is really important.
Yeah. So when you're at these facilities, you kind of have to understand the entire, what maybe manufacturing process for whatever it is they're putting together.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because they could be using chemicals, throughout, depending on what they're making, what they're manufacturing.
So have there been any manufacturing facilities or plants where you've gotten to learn how something was made and it kind of surprised you or interested you or made you go, oh, wow, I never knew that?
Yeah, basically everyone I go to.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's like every site visit is a how it's made.
Yeah, that's got to be cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And that's, kind of why I went into engineering, right? Because learning processes, learning what makes things tick, and then it's fun to spot your clients out in the, in the world.
Can you tell us about any of those without without giving away who the client is?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, like we have a client that makes cans. So
exciting right off the bat. Yeah.
So anytime you see their little symbol on your can, hey, I work for them. Or not so much with my prison clients. I don't see that.
No, not as much fun on that one.
Yeah. Hopefully I won't end up there.
Same.
Manufacturers, you see them out. We have a lot of food clients that are manufacturing food products. So you see that in the grocery store every week when you're going there and, hi, I saw those being made.
Any parts of those processes that you would have never guessed that was a component of that kind of manufacturing or production?
Not so much not understanding, but I guess seeing things like, when you see, for instance, like a production bakery, and you see, cookies being made on like a humongous scale where you have a vat that's like 30 by 30 of cookie dough. It's pretty impressive anyway.
Yeah.
Smells good
cool.
too.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. Well, Allison, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, once we're off air, you're going to have to let me know where that giant cookie dough vat is.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Coming from our New York office is Glenn. We had Glenn phone in, so it's a little hard to hear. Quality's not the best, but still it's some fascinating perspective on innovative technologies in engineering. Hey, Glenn, welcome to the 312 podcast. I guess this is actually the first time we're meeting.
Yes, it is.
How long have you been with the company now?
Almost 2 months.
Okay, and what's your title or your position here at HRP?
My title is Senior Project Manager.
Tell me a little bit about the journey that brought you into the engineering field.
In high school, I had an aptitude for math and science. My dad was kind of a mechanical engineer of sorts. My siblings were getting into various medical and stuff, and I wasn't really into medical, so I thought engineering would be the, place to go with my aptitude for math and science.
That's interesting. I talked to Allison this morning. She was mentioning that her dad was an engineer, and that would kind of inspired her to go in that direction as well, because she had, from an early age, an interest in the sciences. And that's kind of the similar story with you?
Yeah, he definitely did encourage me to become an engineer.
And what appealed to you about engineering as opposed to maybe some of the other sciences or other tracks along that kind of math-based field?
I think it's always, not to sound too cliche, but I always wanted to know how things worked. I know, civil engineering I was interested in that, doing some of the various jobs, part-time jobs I was doing in high school and after high school, in the construction industry. I just started feeling, I just wanted to design things and to see things built that I designed instead of just building things as a construction industry.
Interesting. So how did you get to HRP?
Yeah, I heard about HRP through a colleague, and I decided wanted to go to a smaller firm, share my knowledge that I've gathered over the years of engineering, and just kind of help HRP grow and become help with the success of the company.
And where were you before HRP?
I was with Tetra Tech, big firm, 16,000 people. Just wanted to get back into a smaller company.
And how has the transition been there?
It's been great. Everyone here is very, very friendly. It's been very good.
So within engineering, what's the area where your specialty lies in? What's kind of the work that you are focused on at HRP?
Yeah, I have my bachelor's in civil engineering, and just branched out into the environmental field. My specialty, I think, over the years is as a mediation engineer and in situ mediation technologies, implementing innovative technologies to address soil and groundwater contamination at sites. That the science behind innovative technologies and applying them in the field and having success with remediating sites.
And can you unpack that term for me, innovative technologies? Maybe give me maybe a layman's understanding of what we're talking about with those.
It's not traditional, say, a pump and treat or an air sparging or soil vapor extraction system. It's more innovative where you're adding something into the groundwater, say some particular material that's innovative, that's not common, something that not very. I have a lot of experience in it, something that's innovative to try to tackle some of these difficult sites.
Are there any recent examples you could share with us?
It's not that innovative, but innovative is adding some type of a carbohydrate, something like a molasses, and mixing it with other things you inject to try to do it smarter and faster.
So injecting molasses into the ground?
Yes, exactly. That's one of the technology.
How much molasses are we talking about?
It depends on the site, but basically what you're trying to achieve is that carbohydrates is a food, something to provide the bacteria you're trying to get to degrade or basically break down the contaminants of concern. In this case, volatile organic compounds. And so it all depends on how much contamination, the size you're trying to treat. But you can be adding several 100 gallons of molasses.
That's crazy. And so how does the bacteria result in those, let's say, volatile organic compounds or other contaminants being cleaned or remediated?
The anaerobic bacteria looking for the carbohydrates, the food source, and as they break down, they create these enzymes, and it creates this anaerobic environment for the volatile organic compounds to degrade to innocuous compounds like ethene and ethane, the last breakdown products of some of these chlorinated solvents.
And are those bacteria in any way harmful or concern to the environment and have to be dealt with afterwards, or is it just they take care of it and then you, I guess, cut off the molasses supply and you don't have to worry about it anymore?
That's correct.
Ah, okay.
They're basically down there naturally occurring in the groundwater.
Oh, so that bacteria is already there. You don't even have to bring that in. You just
sometimes you might have to augment it. They call bioaugmentation. But generally, if you see the subsurface anaerobic environment, there's good signs that those bacteria are already there.
So I guess to close out here, what do you find most interesting about the work that you do?
I think it's the problem solving. You get a site and try to come up with a solution to try to address the remediation in a cost-effective way for the client. Not necessarily a faster way, but I think it's just the uniqueness of each site is different, and trying to solve the problem and try to come up with a solution that you think will work. That's usually what I find more interesting on a day-to-day basis.
Well, excellent. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure, you're welcome.
So far on the journey through Engineering Week, we've gone from cookie dough vats to gallons of molasses. What awaits us as we turn now to Laurel Picard? So, in case anyone who's listening has not heard the other podcasts you've been a guest on or seen the videos you've been in, can you tell us your name and title, position here at HRP, and maybe how long you've been working with the company?
Of course. My name is Laurel Pickard. I'm a senior project engineer here in the Farmington office. and I've been working for HRP for almost 3 years.
So what was your journey like to becoming an engineer? Not specifically at HRP, but kind of what brought you into the discipline?
Probably unsurprisingly, I was like many nerdy kids. I liked math. I liked science. I took an environmental science class freshman year of high school where we did the sampling streams and looking at the insects and that kind of thing. And I loved it. And I kept doing more science, more math. I had folks saying, oh, be a teacher. The idea of staying in school longer was horrible. Again, nerdy. So I went towards civil engineering, and I loved it.
What were some of the things once you were inside of civil engineering that like stood out to you as interesting or that kind of drove you to keep pursuing it?
I really liked the idea that I could use my talents to help the environment, help people. And it's an interesting balance between protecting the environment and still helping industry function. We still need things. We still need to make things. Mm-hmm. So this was an opportunity to kind of find a balance there.
Mm-hmm. And what brought you to HRP?
I'd been working at a smaller firm, which was great. I got a lot of different opportunities, but we weren't able to handle the ebbs and flow very well. And we were in a little bit of a downturn. So I was looking for other positions, and I actually happened to know one of the engineers here. She had great things to say about the culture, about the type of work, and so I applied. And I wanted to stick with a small to mid-sized firm. There are so many giant corporation engineering firms out there where your employee number 67832, which is the opposite of HRP.
Mm. And in your time here, you've tackled a lot of different things.
I have. It's really great that I get to do some hard engineering, some permitting, some totally off-the-wall things that I never expected.
Mm-hmm. So in your duties here, what would you say is kind of the specialty that you work in or the area that you primarily are tasked with?
So I have 1 foot in the engineering team, 1 foot in the environmental health and safety department. I do a lot of wastewater compliance and permitting, but I'm also getting to do things like the inland wetland program for one of our larger clients. So a lot of what I do is industrial wastewater, which doesn't sound very exciting, but I get to see all different manufacturing plants and, again, help them with staying in compliance, getting in compliance, being able to do their jobs without hiccups to process and manufacturing. I'm also get to do work with things like the inland wetland and tidal wetland programs for some construction sites, which is very exciting. Seeing things built, making sure, again, that there's minimal impact to the environment in that process is really cool.
I was talking to Allison earlier, and she was saying that as part of the air work that she does, that she has to know pretty much the whole process that a manufacturer or facility goes through in order to do the work that is done there. Is it a similar situation with wastewater?
Very much. You have to know what's coming into the plant, how it's being changed, where it's coming in contact with the wastewater, and what's leaving. And it can vary. A lot of manufacturers don't just make one product all day, every day. They may be switching it up day to day even, and that can impact. We have this much tin and this much iron today. Let's treat that. But next week it might be a totally different balance and need a different ratio. And that's where a lot of places get into trouble.
Mm-hmm. And do those facilities or manufacturers provide all of that information to us as the consultant?
That really depends. Mm. Sometimes they're not even aware of what's going on because this is the way they've always done it.
Yeah.
And it's just this hiccup that's come up. We have a great client that things were going great for them until they took on a new project, and it didn't even make sense initially where they were having problems. It was really due to the size of the product, not the chemistry of the product, that was causing their wastewater to be out of compliance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how easy is it for a manufacturer facility to fall out of compliance? Is that a common thing that we see?
We try not to, for certainly.
Yeah. This is obviously before they hired us. Yeah.
So it really depends on how everybody's operating. Mm-hmm. We've got some folks who are very tight and strict, and just something strange has come up. And then other folks are more loosey-goosey, and maybe they've gotten some notices of being out of compliance. Maybe they've gotten themselves in a little hot water, and then we're brought in. Either way, our job is to help.
So in terms of those facilities or manufacturers where you've had to kind of get to know the whole process, the ins and outs, part of the wastewater environmental engineering that you do, are there any that you were really surprised by, or to learn like how something was done or how something was made?
I was. We have a facility that they've actually been on TV. Mm-hmm. They make hypodermic needles. And it's a relatively small shop, but seeing these rows of needles kind of in these big boxes, and I would be terrified that I would be getting poked daily.
Yeah.
And everyone's just kind of blasé about it. No one seemed to have all the bandages on their fingers.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's one of those like nail bed situations where you can just kind of walk across the top.
It might be.
I wouldn't try it though.
No.
Not recommended.
The 4-foot-long needles were also a little terrifying.
4-foot-long needles?
Yeah, it's something for...
horses?
No, like when they do the laparoscopic.
What is that?
Then they don't cut you open for surgery.
Oh.
So they have like...
Just send a needle in there?
Apparently. I'm not a surgeon. Not medical advice.
Okay, yep. This is engineering way. This is not laparoscopic surgery.
No. I took one biology class, not an expert.
Mm-hmm. So what do you find most interesting or maybe even most rewarding about the work that you do here as an engineer at HRP?
I think the most interesting and rewarding is like I can call a client up a few months after we've wrapped something up and everything is going great. They're relaxed and not stressed out, and they're telling me about a new product coming online or a new facility that's opening up or growing. And it doesn't seem like wastewater is that important, but it's critical. They might be having to haul, and that's very expensive. Stuff like that.
Okay. Well, that's great. Laurel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. So some people might not be too clear on what HRP does in terms of engineering because we're not architects, we're not a construction firm. We have a kind of a support role, and we're a bit of a smaller company, but that doesn't mean that we don't work on large or important projects. And maybe you can speak to some of those, Tom.
Yeah, really the engineering practice is as a support mechanism for a lot of very large contracts that HRP has and currently carries. In New York, for instance, DEC and OGS, we have several very large contracts with very large financial projects. And what we do is we help support the environmental folks with the details of scaled plans, specifications, working with contracts, working with bidding assistance. So we're kind of a support check for a lot of the bigger projects. Here in Connecticut, Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have an environmental on-call. We do what's called the Task 310s, which is basically a plan and specification package for handling soil and groundwater on DOT construction sites. We have some large utility carriers in state that have several very large infrastructure upgrade projects that we're supporting on the permitting side. And these are several $100 million projects, so they're fast-paced. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people involved, and we're just part of the team. Yeah, I think the other project I'd like to bring up is we had a very large Superfund site out in St. Louis that we supported our St. Louis office for several years, several $1 million worth of cleanup, a major feather in our cap. One of the biggest projects I think HRP has handled is basically the prime contractor, where we handled all the engineering, all the permitting, hired the contractors, and got paid to do all that. So it was a very successful project on all fronts.
So what do you find particularly inspirational or meaningful about engineering work, or maybe even specifically the engineering work that we do at HRP?
You know, Tom, I look at it as it's kind of a team concept. I played basketball in high school, and teams are very important. Trusting your coworkers on projects. Socially, we often go out and celebrate. Like this past week, we went axe throwing. The engineering team did, basically to celebrate the fact that we secured a very large local contract. So it was kind of exciting. We all had fun, had a couple of drinks, and had some good food, and enjoyed our night out. It's nice to see something go from design and actually be constructed in the field. It's very, very gratifying.
Thanks to Tom, Allison, and Glenn for joining me on the Work Hard section of the podcast. We're moving over to the Play Hard section, where I'll be joined by Allison, once again, fan favorite, all the way from Houston, Texas, Everett Anderson. For those of us on the audio podcast portion, we are now officially in the Play Hard section, which is a video portion now. So if you wanted to see us and not just hear us, head over to our YouTube channel and check us out. Make sure to subscribe while you're there if you're not already. Since it's engineering week, can you tell us, especially Everett and I, who are lay people, and in my case, kind of dumb, what is engineering?
What is I thought this was the fun portion.
There's no engineering allowed in the fun portion?
Engineering could be in a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's lots of different kinds of engineers. You can do design, you can do compliance like I do. There's a lot of different things that could lead you to a career in engineering.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, what have you been watching lately?
What have I been watching lately? Mm-hmm. Oh, my husband and I just started this funny show on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called? Oh, jeez. Has Will Arnett in it.
Oh, Murderville?
Murderville, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, we started the first couple of episodes. Had Conan O'Brien. They do
Conan O'Brien?
Yeah, it's like they do improv almost. So they plot a murder, and then the guest star has to decide. It's almost like a murder mystery, like those boat rides you can go on.
Oh, okay.
And so they have to pretend they're a cop, and they figure out who did the murder.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the only one that doesn't get the script, so they basically have to figure it out on their way throughout the whole episode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And each episode is a new celebrity guest.
Right.
So some are funnier than others. The first one I didn't think was that funny. There was one funny part with Conan, but the rest was kind of fine.
Yeah. I think Will Arnett's really funny.
But he was in the Jason Sudeikis, Andy Samberg, those years.
You guys are a little younger than me.
Yeah.
He definitely is. I think we're probably around the same age, right?
I think we talked about this before, and we're not.
Oh, okay.
I pretend to be younger than I am.
It's working. It's very convincing.
I convinced my kids that I was 29 for a really long time. And then one of them came home and said, "My teacher's the same age as you." And I said, "Oh, how old are they?" 29. I said, "Don't tell your teacher that I'm 29 because he's 11.
Everett, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? I just finished a show on HBO Max called Peacemaker.
Oh, yeah.
With John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
very enjoyable show. Very well done, and has made me not hate John Cena as much as I used to hate John Cena.
Yeah.
What else did I watch recently? I feel like I really haven't watched that much TV as of late.
I've been cutting back on a lot too.
I've been kind of just like rewatching old stuff because I don't really want to get invested in anything right now. Like I feel like I'd rather just like, at the end of the day, like I just want to put something on and like scroll through my phone and not really pay attention to what's on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a lot of Office reruns and stuff I've seen. But yeah, that's really it. I mean,
The Office is my go-to background noise too.
Yeah,
100%. I think I've watched it all the way through about like 340 times. Like it's just like on a constant loop. Yeah, I feel like there's really not much. I don't know if it's just like a downtime for shows right now.
I think it is.
Like
it's
like the summer, like everything kind of hit pretty hard where people are, watching like the big time shows and the blockbuster movies and all that stuff. And I feel like that kind of went into, Christmas time and stuff like that. But since then, I feel like everything's kind of coming back. I guess maybe in the spring stuff will start to pick up a bit.
it's coming back. Anything you're looking forward to?
Movie wise or show wise?
Oh, yeah, all the above.
Well, I'm very excited to see the Batman movie in March.
Yeah.
I bought my tickets for that.
How about you, Allison? How excited are you for the Batman movie?
I'm of mid-level excitement. I will probably watch it. I just haven't bought my tickets yet.
I'll probably watch it. I don't think I'm going to go to a theater to watch it, though.
I think it's supposed to come. I think it's gonna come out on HBO like 45 days after it's out.
45.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Usually it's like, I guess it can't be like next day.
I don't know.
Yeah,
some
I think
of them
they
are.
stopped doing that.
I guess probably because no one was going to theaters anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought no one was going because of COVID, not because of the stream. I don't know. I feel like they took the wrong lesson from that.
Well, I think like
Yeah.
they were the first ones to really like go into it and be like, hey, we're gonna do, we're just gonna go all into our new streaming service because they like had just released it too. I'm pretty sure, so it was kind of like a way to get people over to them first, and then Disney did it, and then I feel like they got so much crap for that though. Like a lot of people were just like, even like the people that were in the movies and the directors and stuff like that were kind of pissed off about that.
I think they probably make less money, like the actors.
Yeah.
If people are just streaming it than if you get theater ticket sales.
Yeah, I wonder how that works because, for so long, like all these big giant movies that make, $1 billion, and it's like that didn't happen for like 2 years. Like I feel like the best movie would make like $200 million or something, and that'd be like amazing for a COVID film.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like if you rent or buy a movie on like a streaming service, it's like $20. But if you bring your whole family to the movie theater, you're spending like $50.
yeah, it's definitely a weird thing because like all like the Disney movies and stuff that like go onto their streaming service like pretty soon after they're out of the theaters. Like then who's gonna buy like a disc, or who's gonna buy like the Blu-ray or the digital version, or like who wants to own it then if it's all gonna be there anyway? If you're already paying for it,
Right.
I feel like
you're a collector.
It must be like, I guess, yeah. I feel like there must be some sort of like cannibalization on their own sales there for DVD and whatnot. But
I feel like they're putting out so few movies these days that you would ever want to see more than once. So like, why would you buy it at all?
yeah, that's true. That's true too. There's not like those like generational movies that you would, watch
It's true.
again and again.
You guys don't have children. We watch the Disney movies over and over and over again.
Is it all of them, or do you just get like the one that's watched 4 or 5 times a day?
Well, now my kids are like older. When they were younger, like when Moana first came out, we watched Moana like 10 times a week. But like
Moana and Frozen, I feel like were just like a constant repeat. And
when my oldest was young, we watched the Lego movie over and over and over again. And then when my youngest, it was Moana. I feel like everyone probably with children probably has that one movie that they watched a million times.
Did you have one when you were a kid?
I watched The Little Mermaid like a million times when I was young.
Ever, what about you?
Well, Star Wars, obviously, original trilogy. I watched that a lot.
That's like an everyday after school.
Well, so I'm trying to think like VHS. Like what would we watch a lot? I mean, we would go to like we had a movie store down the street from us, and I would go and I would spend like hours trying to figure out what I was going to get. And I kept getting the same thing. And my dad was like, I'm going to kill you. He's like, we go every single time. You spend an hour looking for a movie and you pick the same movie. Like it was like Star Wars, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Honestly, it might have been just like the 3 original trilogy movies and Power Rangers just on repeat.
Definitely Jurassic Park for me. I think we've talked about this. You and I, and probably Joe, have talked about this before. The repeat movies.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, there's a whole VHS-based conversation.
Something that I think it was like one of the first playhards we did.
Might have been the first one where we were just recording in Joe's office on one mic.
You had to get that close to Joe.
He wouldn't. He kept backing up. I could never get him to sit close enough to the mic.
Yeah, that's when we had talked about like old technologies that are like hilarious now.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember exactly what the conversation.
Because you had talked about VHS and you thought that I didn't even know what a VHS was because you thought I was that young, which is not true.
Like when did VHS go away?
Boy, I feel like as late as
early 2000s.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, 2003, 2004, maybe.
I remember seeing. I'm talking, so I'm gonna spin this around to me. I remember seeing VHS tapes for sale as late as like maybe 2017. In like it was like a little general store up in Norfolk, tiny little town in northwest rural Connecticut. For whatever reason, in this little general store, which is gone now, they were selling blank VHS tapes, among other things.
Blank ones?
Blank VHS tapes.
I think that proves it all, is that they don't exist anymore. That's why they were selling it.
Because there's still people who needed to tape the game or whatever, or their soaps, and needed the VHS tapes.
I was going to say, I think that's like, well, that whole area, I feel like it's behind a few years, if not decades. So
at least.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. I was thinking, like, I think the last movie I remember having on VHS was like Finding Nemo or something. And I feel like that must have been early 2000s.
I would put that, like 2003-ish, 2002-ish.
Fact checkers got working.
Maybe 4.
2003, yep. So, yeah. I just so because I was already fact checking, I decided to type in when did VHS, and then the first thing that came up was die. And in 2003, the VHS began to die off the market, overcome by DVD sales and online rentals. So we are spot on. Look at us go.
Does it have an official date of death?
Date of death? No, it just said 2003.
I bet there's still people with VCRs.
Yeah, they're still getting made. Do they even still make?
I don't think they make them.
I highly doubt it. There's no way. There's no way that I feel like those are probably more expensive to make and have zero value.
Yeah,
than
no one
like
would buy
a
a
DVD
VHS.
or something.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's a foreign market for them.
So my
Didn't come prepared with this?
My husband's
No, I
cousin
didn't.
used to own like a VHS store in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
He does not own that anymore.
Okay.
So it went out of business.
Mm.
Those were the best, though. I loved going to those.
I really did too. Same.
Like even like Blockbuster, like not just like DVDs and like some video games. Like that was fun to do. It's always a good time.
Like something to do. Like every Friday night you would go there with
Yeah.
your family and like
Yeah.
Everett said spend an hour looking at all the different videos and stuff.
Yeah, now I scroll through the 45 streaming services I have and then can't pick anything, so I decide on the one thing I've already seen.
Just watch The Office again.
It is
Oh my
funny
God.
with so many fewer options. It was so much easier to pick something.
Right.
It's so hard. I went on Netflix yesterday and I was like, I don't even know what, like there's so much on here between like their own stuff, their new stuff, like old movies that you're like, oh God, I forgot about that movie. That's a great movie. And then you're just like, you know, but then there's the new stuff that came out on Apple or whatever. And it's just like, it's so much stuff. Very hard to choose.
We have limits. We only have Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus. That's it. Because otherwise it would be impossible to make a choice.
I just got just canceled my Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching HBO a lot more.
Yeah.
And it just was getting too expensive.
Yeah. I was debating whether we should try HBO or not.
HBO's
But
got
we'd
a
have to-
great library of stuff.
Yeah.
They do a good job with, especially with movies. I think they do a pretty good job of stocking up on that stuff. I feel like Netflix has always been kind of behind on movies.
I have no idea how to qualify that, but I couldn't tell you. Like I would suspect that Netflix is better, but I couldn't tell you if Netflix or HBO has more quality family content.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
My
tough.
kids just watch YouTube now. So it's like,
Oh yeah, that stuff's depraved too. So.
right. They make so much money. We should just become YouTubers.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
don't
a-
become an engineer. It's engineering week. Don't become an engineer. Just become a YouTuber.
Exactly. Get out of there.
Like some of those little kids are worth like millions of dollars. It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's like it's hard to even like imagine what a day-to-day like what they go through, and not only them, like their parents, and like I just that can't be a good good way to grow up.
Childhood. I don't know.
And like what
But
happens
then
when
who
you
does
grow
have
up?
a good childhood, really? At
Yeah,
least
but
with that
what
one, you have
happens-
money.
Yeah, but what happens when you grow out of that, and then you like if you're a little kid reviewing like kids' toys, and then all of a sudden you're
You're like not cute anymore.
not a kid anymore. Like everyone's gonna be like, well, this is just creepy.
Yeah.
So it's like
15-year-old
happens?
boy or reviewing
Yeah.
little kids' toys. It's not
exactly.
the same.
What happens then?
Do your kids watch reviews?
Not really. They watch a lot of like Minecraft videos
Oh,
because
yeah.
they play Minecraft, and so then
Yeah.
like, they all
I also watch a lot of people playing video games,
Yeah.
but they're older than me. Which I guess probably the same for your kids
I think
too.
they are older than I don't know. I probably should monitor more closely what they're watching.
It's funny that it's like you like first think about it and you're like, oh, that's kind of like weird. It's like, why wouldn't you rather just play? But like it's no different than like watching people play sports.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you
Yeah.
rather just play? It's like, oh, because I suck at that sport. That's why I'm not playing.
Well, like Eric, my younger son, he'll like watch the Minecraft videos and then like do what they're doing on his Minecraft, like almost like a tutorial.
Mm.
So
It's cool.
For me, it was all about the personalities, the people that are actually playing the games, not the games themselves, because they're usually very funny and talented comedians that are also just playing the game, and it's just their forum for comedy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. When it's like you kind of like, when you're playing, like, for example, like me and Tom and Joe and one of my friends play often. And like the best part about that is like, these like stupid moments where we're all like crying, laughing that like something happened, even though it's like it's nothing about the game, right? Like it's not like because the game did something. Like it's like Joe jumping off a building and like not realizing they didn't have a parachute or like something like just like stupid that it's like, but it's like when you watch these people, like they do that and then like you feel like you're in their crew kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of, I can understand that kind of like, just kind of friends, buds being buds.
Yeah. Well, it's like listening to a podcast, right? Like you feel like you know the people because you learn so much about them if you've been listening to them for years. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah. Like all of our followers probably just feel like they're right at the table right now.
Yeah.
probably. If only it was a Friday. Have a drink.
Yeah.
It is President's Day today, right?
I know. I was just looking at a place to go out to dinner tonight, and like everywhere's closed. I'm like, come on.
Restaurants are closed because of President's Day?
It's so weird how many
Really?
places are closed for President's Day.
It's so weird. I like forgot it was even a holiday. Like I was like, I always get confused because there's a few holidays that are like holidays, but like no one takes them off anywhere because they're like, oh, we should have people in the schools. We should have people at work. We should have people doing this so they can learn about A, B, and C kind of thing, right? Like, I feel like you hear that about like Veterans Day and I thought President's Day, but I guess not.
Well, Veterans Day, we used to get it off.
Yeah.
And now the kids don't get it off anymore.
Yeah, because I feel like when I was in elementary school was like the moment they decided they were like, no, like we're going to have people in school so we can like teach them about things. And I think MLK Day was the same thing. We kind of like switched over to instead of having the day off and people just being like, I have a day off because I don't know why, but there's no school. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. I always thought President's Day was the same way, but I guess not. I don't know. It's kind of confusing.
I think they use it as an opportunity for like a school break.
Yeah.
Because my kids have tomorrow off too.
I feel like it's more like synonymous with like big sales and stuff like that than it is with like any like what do you normally do during President's Day? You just like read about all the presidents? I don't know. I've never done that before either. Never. Yeah.
I sit at home and think about my favorite president.
Yeah. A few hours of quiet reflection. Yeah, if I had kids, they would never get a day off. I'd be like, go to school. It's President's Day. Just leave and come back in a few hours.
You don't get to choose when the school is open or not.
Just go stand outside the building, and when you would normally get on the bus, just come back.
I think it should be like, instead of presidents like presidents of the United States, I think every kid should replace a president of a company for the day.
Exactly.
Just run the company for one day. See how bad things go.
You never know. I mean,
sure, they could be
make
better,
really
honestly.
good decisions.
Yeah. Might be onto something.
It's like monthly replace Dan with a child and see what happens.
But don't tell anyone else. None of the clients know, nothing.
No.
Just one day.
Let me talk to your boss. Put on a 5-year-old.
It is funny that on our Engineering Week Play Hard podcast, we had the most, I think, technical difficulties of any recording so far. Yeah, I did notice halfway through that I forgot to switch the light over to green. So when you see that, that's why.
We don't have an electrical engineer here.
Oh, that's what we're missing. We have all of these fields, but no electrical engineer. Okay.
Yeah. Need a audio engineer.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm technically that one.
Oh, okay.
Which explains all the problems.
Explains why.
Yeah. Self-educated.
Yeah. I taught myself all the wrong ways to do it.
Oh. Well, I mean, that's mostly what engineering is. You just figure it out.
Mm-hmm. The process of
I'm just saying,
elimination.
if you know all the wrong ways to do it, then you most likely know also all the right ways to do it.
And I'm hoping to get there some point.
I don't know. There's a lot of wrong ways to do things.
Because if you've tried all the wrong ways, then you've most likely found the right way in failing so many times.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good note to go out on. Okay, everybody. If you enjoyed this, if you learned anything, make sure to leave a comment, like us, hit the bell for notifications, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, rate us 5 stars on there if you can. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Stay safe.